My name's Mark Davison, and joining me today on Steelers Touchdown Under, as George Teston has already alluded to, we have Geoffrey. Jeff, how's it going, mate? This is your
good, man.
Third or fourth time now, mate. Welcome to Steelers Touchdown Under. We have a good show planned today. I just want to see, how you going? What's happening over in America?
I'm actually worrying, how many shows of this I can be on before they force me to leave the country. Before America kicks me out, makes me go to Australia.
They're just going to say your American visa has run out and you have to go, enjoy in Australia and get a passport and start hanging out with the kangaroos and, build a fence out the back. It'd be great to have you over here. You'd fit right in as an Australian. Put a Cuba on you, one of our hats. You'd fit right in. Yeah, it'd be great. You haven't been to Australia, have you?
I have not.
No,
I have not.
Yeah. In time, it's pretty like I said last podcast, it's pretty the same. We all speak English. We're Western culture. The only really big difference is that you drive on the wrong side of the road, and to you, I drive on the wrong side of the road. So, right? Wouldn't that be true?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the craziest thing to me is that we have countries that just drive on different sides of the street. That's just strange.
Yeah. Because when I've been to America, right, I've been over to America 7 times now, 6 times, whatever it is. And every time you go, you've got to customize yourself to look the opposite way on the road because it's life-threatening, really, if you don't look right. Yeah. I had my friend over there that we're in Hollywood. He looked right, which is the way we were meant to look, right? And the cars are coming from the left. And I was like, holy dooly, you're pulling back, These things tend to happen because we're just not accustomed to what is going on. And then you come back to Australia and you look left with the cars and then the cars coming from the right. So it's something you got to really, and even driving over there, when I drove over there too in Canada and I reached for my seatbelt on the right-hand side and it's your left, right?
Yeah.
And that, I was like, I said to myself, I shouldn't be driving.
Yeah.
So I went, okay, no, maybe I should get out.
Make someone local drive.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to try it, and I thought, well, if my first thought was to reach for the wrong side, we're in trouble. And then all I really did was I just you just follow the car behind you, and you're pretty good. And your mental bearing will get back together. But do you want to talk some Steelers football or more about Australia?
No, we can talk Steelers, I guess.
All right. So the big news this week, and a lot of guys have covered it in the Steelers, is let's start with David DeCastro. Your first initial thoughts. This guy has been with the Steelers for 9 years, and just this my little take on it. It's just amazing how time can fly. Hey, it's been 9 years. You think that David's always going to be there at the guard position. You turn on the telly and he's there, right? And now this season we have a whole new offensive line. And we'll go more into that too. But what are your initial thoughts on David leaving and his whole career in Pittsburgh?
Man, it's been a whirlwind in my head. It started with kind of I wasn't surprised because you kind of heard rumblings that maybe it was going to happen. And I watched this film last year. He wasn't good at the end of the season. So I'm like, if his injury didn't heal, which is what it turns out to be, his injury's not there. Yeah, if he's as injured as he was last year, then he shouldn't be playing. Really, he gutted it out. He played through the injury. You got to credit his toughness for that, but he wasn't good. He wasn't a good football player last year, playing through that injury. So it didn't surprise me there. My second thought has to be the leadership. I mean, just the changeover, right? And the lack of veterans on that line. And the third thing I thought of was, we had that great offensive line, and now they're all gone. And what did we accomplish? What did the Steelers accomplish? I was listening to another show where some people were talking about that. I think it was Ramon Foster was on a show, and he was talking about how Art Sr. and Kevin Colbert apologized to them. And was like, I'm sorry, we didn't get you guys a ring. You guys were that line. We really believed in you, and we couldn't get a team around you to win the Super Bowl. And that stuck with me, that the team would apologize to them. You guys carried And they did. That offensive line carried this team for years, and we didn't get anything out of it.
That's very true, and that goes into the same point with our title today, and we'll get into it after the first little bit of news. Is how many active players have won a playoff game, and what does it mean for the 2021 season? Now, that is so true. We may have wasted talent, and I know we definitely did with the Jaguars' loss. Even last year with the Browns, it just seems like, how do we win these playoff games, and what is really happening? For me, David, it's just so crazy. Like, he's been there 9 years. You just think he's going to be there. Is the O-line, are we in trouble? Like, I know a lot of the NFL pundits around, I've turned on the NFL Live the other day, Jeff, and I shouldn't have, because I always do it. And the moment I do it, they bring up, is Brady the best? Is Brady is he the GOAT? Is he the number one? I've been hearing that for 10 years. I'm so over hearing about Brady. And that's when I turned it on. There was no talk about David DeCastro. Not until the third, fifth, or sixth segment. Didn't come up. But a lot of other guys around Steeler pages are saying that the Steelers are in trouble now at O-line. What do you think? Are we in trouble, or is it a fresh start?
Well, there's two thoughts that I go back to. One is 2008. Like, the last time we had this much turnover on the offensive line was the start of the 2008 season, where we lost everybody. Alan Faneca was already gone. We had injuries to some other key players, and all of a sudden a bunch of guys are in there that haven't played. A bunch of guys are in there that we don't trust, and the offensive line was terrible. And then they won the Super Bowl, right? The great comment Ben Roethlisberger saying, so who's laughing now, O-line? We don't have that Ben. That's not the Ben Roethlisberger we have. Yeah. We don't have a Ben Roethlisberger who, if he's under pressure 1 second into the play, will run around for 3 seconds, throw a defensive lineman to the ground, and throw a touchdown. We don't have that guy anymore. But I do like the young talent we have. It's not like 2008 in that there was literally no one. There's a bunch of guys who haven't played, and there's a bunch of guys that don't look good, and all of a sudden they're trying to find some way to even be competent. We have a couple of good players. We just gotta get the rest of it together. I don't know who's going to be some of these positions you look at, you're like, I don't know what we're going to get out of center. What are we going to get out of right guard? What are we going to get out of right and left tackle? Where's Zach Banner? Like, there's so many question marks that it's just, it could be bad, or it could be the rise of a young line.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like, we had Pouncey, Al, Ramon Foster, and DeCastro for many, many years. And to me, as bad as is, life goes on, right? But it's like, maybe it is time for a fresh start. Now, I'm not saying that these five guys or whoever jumps in at the O-line is going to be the future. I do like the look of Kevin Dotson, and we have Green there at center. But maybe, I don't know, maybe the surprise will be quite fitting as well, because I'm telling you, a lot of teams haven't seen these guys play. You and I as fans haven't really seen this O-line play. The only direction I really want this O-line to go is forward, and just do something with the ball. Najee Harris is ready to go. So, yeah, it was quite, for me, it was surprising to see David leave. But like you said before, he was coming to the end of his career. Like, being in there for 10 years is a long time. If his play isn't there, these coaches know what's happening. You've got to put the best man on the field. And now, I remember a few shows back, might have been on the preview, one of the listeners said it's about competition. So this now just raises up the competition for the players. And I don't care who it is. If it's undrafted, if it's a guy, if it's like Dotson, and if he's going to be there, but it's whoever that five is, or maybe there's going to be 5 to 7 people in that depth chart rotating because it's a longer season and we've got all the preseason games. Like, I really don't care who's on the field, as long as, like, we have to move that ball 30 seconds. But now, what do you think, would like you said before, will this affect Big Ben's play? So is he 70% throwing, or is it going to be back to the running game and helping him out?
Well, I actually started doing film on the new guard we got, Trey Turner. And a thing stands out to me that kind of fits with what the team has been doing this offseason. When Trey Turner on Carolina when they were number 2 for, I think it was 2015 to 2018. They were second in the NFL in total rushes and total rushing yards. He was a Pro Bowler, and he played phenomenally. When he went to San Diego, and they ended up going with Justin Herbert, and they were throwing the ball all the time. He didn't look good. Last year, 2020, he doesn't look good. Or 20, I may be moving things around there. 2020, he was with there. 2019, Carolina went with Cam Newton got hurt, and they threw the ball a ton. He wasn't good that year. 2020, he goes to the Chargers. There you got Justin Herbert. They're throwing all the time. He doesn't look good. If you watch him on film, he's a run blocker. He's a stud run blocker, not a good pass blocker at all. So the Steelers are kind of putting that out there that we're going to run the ball. We're focused on running the ball. Well, our new right guard is going from David DeCastro, who last year was still a really good pass protector. He gave ground, but he still kept Ben clean most of the time, to a guy that's not good. Yeah. He's not a good pass protector. So if that run game flops, if the run game fails, right, if we can't run the ball and they try to turn this offense over to Ben Roethlisberger like they had to last season for a good number of games, this team is pretty much just screwed. You don't have the line to do that. These guys haven't played together. They're not veterans. This is a line built to run the ball. Banner, Trey Turner, Kendrick Green, Zach Banner, you've got none of those are pass blockers. Kevin Dotson. Kevin Dotson's a good pass blocker. Chukwuma Okorafor is a good pass blocker. But other than that, you're built to run the ball. You've got to run the ball.
And look, maybe that's it. Maybe that's the reason why they went Najee. And what's very funny? When we let go of DeCastro and we signed Trey Turner, I'll be very honest, Jeff. I have no idea who that guy is. I have no idea. I don't. He was
a Pro Bowler. He was an absolute stud. If you remember the year Carolina went to the Super Bowl,
yep,
he was dominant. Even in that Super Bowl loss to Denver, fantastic player. Again, they ran the ball more than they passed it significantly, and he was a stud for them when they were running it.
That's the Super Bowl that Cam Newton should have jumped on the ball. I was actually there. I was over in San Francisco, and I was watching the game on TV. One of my first real live games or big experiences over there. And the Carolina. Is that yours, Jeff? What's happening in the background?
Give me a moment. I'll say.
No worries. All right, guys. So as Jeff handles out the spaceship there, what I was saying was when I was in San Francisco, it was Carolina versus Denver. Now Carolina had a massive offensive play to get there, and then we had Peyton Manning. You still there, Jeff?
Yeah, I heard all that.
Yeah. We had they had Peyton Manning, and I couldn't believe that Carolina lost. I thought Carolina was going to go away with that game. And you're saying that Trey Turner helped out because honestly, it's sometimes when these players come in, I can watch a few highlights and say that I know the guy, but I really don't. All I know about Trey Turner is that he's I saw a few blocks. He's a pretty big unit, right? And I would love to see that to him knock someone down, right? Wouldn't that be cool?
Oh yeah, and that is him. With his injuries last year, he wasn't quite as good. But if he's fully recovered and he can get back to that, get back some of that attitude, get back some of that aggressiveness that he lost with injury, he'll be a good run blocker. He will, and he will help. I mean, I'd love to see him on one side of Kendrick Green and Kevin Dotson on the other because that kind of nasty streak Kevin Dotson has, Trey Turner has more of it.
Yeah, right.
He body slams linebackers. There are plays you're just holy crap. Yeah. How is that not unnecessary roughness? Well, he slams people.
We're going to need that as well for the Steelers into the AFC North. Now, the Ravens are a big running team. The Browns have a big defense. So we're going to need that physicality. And that's what it seems like in this direction. And we're going to get into the next few minutes. But firstly, I've got a super chat here from Double HH, which is $19.99, which is about $64 Australian right at the moment. No, I'm only joking. It's about $25. Double HH says the day had to come sooner or later when we had to put the 2010 and 2020 era aside, which leads into our theme today. It's exciting, inevitable. It's a hard word to say for Australian. Thanks a lot, Double HH. Turn to a new chapter. Luckily, we took a running back and tight end to help build the team around, I guess. Appreciate that. And we'll jump into that. But before we do, we have Shield here. I'm late, but hey, Mark and Geoffrey, good to see you, mates. That's exactly right. Geoffrey's one of our mates now. He's been here 4 or 5 times. Just got done with some tornadoes here. And yeah, that's easy. Just brush them away. You'll be right, mate, the tornadoes. I luckily we don't get tornadoes here. That's incredible.
I was born in Michigan. I was born in Michigan. I lived there until I was in kindergarten. And I remember when I was like 3 or 4 years old, my mom and I would go outside and watch the tornadoes. We would go out and watch the funnel clouds. We'd watch tornadoes. I remember the one summer we probably had 5 or 6. And only one time was my mom like, all right, we need to get back in the house and go in the basement because it was coming towards us.
Like the movie Twister. You never scared? I wouldn't know what to think without those guys chasing the tornadoes down there. We don't get nothing like that.
My mom wasn't afraid at all. And so I just I was little. I didn't know any better. My mom was like, hey, look at that. I was like, wow, that looks cool. That's
crazy. It's another part of American culture.
Now I live in Pittsburgh where there's like never tornadoes. We got too many hills. We got the ridges. There's a
lot of snow.
We don't have anything.
Well, okay. While we're in Pittsburgh, what do you think about the move? Now the team won't go to Latrobe. Any big thoughts on that, or is just what it is? Won't impact the team.
It really stinks. I am not happy about that because I was going to get to make it this year. I haven't been there in a few years, and then COVID happened last year, and now COVID is again. I understand the move. The NFL is being overly cautious because they have so much money on the line. Like if fans come there and somehow get the players sick, right? Then all of a sudden, are you going to lose? Are you going to have cities being like, whoa, cut the fans in stadiums? Like, if you're going to have COVID outbreaks, then we can't do this. So I understand the optics of it that, they'll sacrifice training camp earlier than they'll put risk on the money that they're getting from stadiums and all that. So they're not taking any chances. So I understand it. I'm going to try and make it to one of those practices at Heinz Field that they're going to open to the public, but it's not going to be the same. It won't be the same as Latrobe at all.
That's crazy because I've never been to Latrobe. I've been to Heinz Field, but I reckon even going to Heinz Field for the training camp would be quite amazing. But you're right. With the 32 teams there, you have all different states, and I know you guys have all different kinds of rules and what you're meant to do. So if one team gets away with 100% fans here and the other state in California or whatever can have 0%, it's still a tough ask over there. But it's interesting to see. I just feel like it's good. We have training camp this year with mini camp. We need our band of brothers to get together. We have a new team. We have Big Ben now. We have a brand new O-line. We have a running back who needs to get going, and he will. We have a defense that we feel like should be winning these games in the playoffs with the Jaguars and the Browns. Two big losses. And now this leads into our theme, Jeff. How many players actively on the Steelers roster have won a playoff game for the black and gold? Do you know?
Well, earlier in the chat, someone said Ben Roethlisberger and Cameron Hayward, and I know those two are right. There's more than that, though. I believe Vince Williams.
Yep.
I'm going to go Stephon Tuitt.
Yep.
Cameron Sutton?
No, unless I'm completely wrong.
I'm trying to think if there's any more on defense.
No.
I don't think there's anyone else on offense. Who else on defense?
So the total that I found, and I did my research, and hopefully, if I am wrong, please correct me in the comments or whatever you guys listen to on audio platforms. Send me an email, or send whoever an email, and say that Mark got it wrong. # Mark was wrong. But I believe that there are only 7 active players who were a part of the last Steelers playoff victory, which was the Steelers versus KC in 2017, where Chris Boswell scored 6 field goals. Now, those players are Big Ben, Chris Boswell, Vince Williams, BJ Finney. However, he was a rookie and didn't play. Cam Hayward might have been injured. He wasn't on the game. He wasn't in that game, but he was still part of the team. And Tuitt played that game. And lastly, our favorite, Jordan Berry, was the punter as a rookie.
Berry.
And he's gone now. He's gone now too. But those are the 7 players. And what is your natural first reaction to that comment? Does that mean anything? Do we need to have veteran experience on this team to win these playoff games? We can get there, But do we need that veteran experience?
I think it stands out more that some of this losing streak is the fact that we don't know how to win, right? These guys don't know how to win in the playoffs. And we haven't had that before. You know, we always had players on the team that had been in a playoff run, had been through playoff wins. Like even when Ben came in, Hines Ward has one of the best playoff records of any Steeler. Even before he came in, he'd won playoff games. You know, they knew what they were doing. This is kind of the streak. You know, that 2010 team happened. They were all old, and the team kind of fell apart after they were all that whole, you know, that era at 2010 was the end of an era and the start of a new one. But this new team, they haven't really done much. Like that 2016 season where they went to the championship game. Am I right? They did go, yeah. Where they beat Miami, beat Kansas City that year.
And they were great games. Bud Dupree destroyed a guy on the sidelines in the Miami. I was over in Canada. I loved watching those two games. Didn't like watching the last game. But now a lot of these players are not a part of the team. And I understand age is a factor. But however, you do have rookies that can go into the next year. And we went to the Jaguars, lost, and then now we've had 2 seasons in a row where we had no playoffs. And now this year, and I just get this feeling where you have to have, and you might have a bit of take on this too, like the guys like Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Minka, those guys, and Bush coming in. I want to see these guys win playoff games. And I want to see them win 2 or 3 in a row. And then next year, okay, we only won 2. Let's win another one. What are your thoughts about like leadership with Cam, like Cam Hayward?
Yeah, Cam Hayward's been, if I'm right, Cam Hayward has been active and played in one Steelers playoff win. And that was the Cincinnati meltdown. That was Joey Porter on the field, perfect, and you know, Pac-Man. That game is the only playoff win Cameron Hayward has played in.
And isn't that amazing? That's amazing, right? Because he's been in the league, 10 years now? And we keep saying, and I guess this is our like black and gold goggles, that we keep saying the Steelers are a really good team, and we are a good team. But then we don't have the results for these players that they might need that Hall of Fame push or to be that extra tier up top, because Cam Hayward has 1 win out of all these chances out of 10 years. It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right, does it?
Well, and Joe Hayden's been here. This was his 5th year here, and he hasn't played in a playoff win. He hasn't won a playoff game with the Steelers. And he as much as he's helped.
Yeah, I know.
He's been a huge help to this team. He's been a huge force on the Steelers team. Hasn't won a playoff game with us. Yeah, you know, Minkah Fitzpatrick came over. He hasn't won one. TJ Watt hasn't won a playoff game. Like, what's going on? Like, we've got to step it up.
This is what I was thinking when I was trying to get ideas for the show, and then straight away when DeCastro left, I was like, hang on a minute. Big Ben's the only guy in that offense who has been in an active playoff game. To win. All the other guys, and let me note that it's just getting there isn't good enough. Juju just getting there, Washington just getting there, Snell just getting there last year, not good enough. You have to get a win to have that playoff culture and start to get that winning culture. And yes, we are set as the standard, but there's got to come a time where these players have to go, oh yeah, we made it. But if this happens again, we're going to in part 2. We've got a big rant on part 2. What's going to happen if it doesn't happen, for more the negative side? But there's got to be a time where, you know, you're playing your 5th year like TJ Watt now. I know it's not all on him, but the other fella's got to help him out, Jeff.
Yeah. I actually went with my own, because I was on the same page with you, but in a little bit of a different direction. With Ben Roethlisberger is the only player who has been in a playoff win for the Steelers on offense. There are a total of 6 players on offense who have played snaps on offense. They have to be offensive snaps in a playoff win, period. 6 of them. Do you want to try and guess any of them? All offense.
I will try my best. Ebron would be one. Is that correct?
Eric Ebron, 2018 Indianapolis over Houston.
I'm trying to
guy on the offensive line we added from the Super Bowl champions last year.
From KC? No, KC? Oh,
from Tampa. He played for Tampa last year.
Oh, I can't. Is it Hogue or Haig?
Haig. He was their sixth
Haig?
offensive lineman. He played 21 snaps in the Super Bowl.
Are these players all offensive line? Because you want to test my depth at my weakest position.
Yeah, like they're. Yeah, you got one of the two non-offensive linemen. Can you guess the other non-offensive lineman? He wasn't on our team in 2018, but he did win a playoff game in 2018. He's won a playoff game. His brother hasn't.
Oh, like Derek Watt?
Derek Watt, 2018, playing 10 snaps when the Chargers beat the Ravens.
No way. But okay. So who are the last?
Okay, well, the guy we just added to replace DeCastro played in the Super Bowl in 2015. So he won the NFC Championship game in 2015. The last guy, Aviante Collins, 2018 Minnesota over New Orleans. He played 10 snaps. He's an offensive lineman, but he got in on offense. They weren't special teams. But that's it. Like Aviante Collins probably doesn't make this team. You've got Joe Hague, who's a backup offensive lineman, Eric Ebron, Derek Watt, who barely plays, and the new guy we just added, Trey Turner, who hopefully is healthy.
So what you're saying is, in the total on the offense, we really have zero experience in a playoff run, and maybe that's to do with our playoff victories in our culture at the moment. Whereas for years, or even like you said before 2010, we're always seemed to be around, and even if we didn't make it, the next few years you had new guys who were playoff and turned to leadership. That's honestly that's blowing me away.
Well, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger's win was in 2017, but it was the 2016 season. Everyone on the team that has a playoff win since then wasn't on our team. And it's like Derek Watt, Aviante Collins, Eric Ebron, and Joe Hague. It's like they're not leaders. These aren't guys that are leaders in your locker room.
I'm just going to throw this out there for a bit of comedy. Imagine if Big Ben was a problem. He's like, oh, it's not me. I've got the wins, but then everyone else keeps leaving him. And that might appease some people. Well, they say Big Ben is a problem. We've kept him. We haven't had other players to stick around this offense. And if Big Ben's the only one who's won the playoff with the black and gold, then maybe the other players, I'm not saying don't like playing with him, but he seems to be the only one. Sometimes when that happens in life, if you're the person and you disagree with 30 people, maybe it's you. I don't know.
I'm just going to stay off of that topic. I got nothing to say about that.
That's a hot take right there.
Direct your letters to Mark Davison.
I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm just saying it's a possibility. But it's coming back into where these players have to buy in. However, it's tough. Because when I first looked into this research about not winning, the last person to win a playoff game in 2017 was Ben. There's nobody else on the offensive line. So who's that leadership? Is it Ben? And before we go to break, does it overly matter? Does it matter that we haven't won a playoff game? Will Najee just run rampant and Frymuth go crazy and we will get a playoff win? Does it matter?
I don't think it does. I honestly don't think it does. It doesn't matter once you win one, right? This only matters until we win a playoff game, right? The minute we win a playoff game, how many playoff games you've won is irrelevant. Like that's not really relevant. Like it didn't help us in 2010 that Ben Roethlisberger won a ton more playoff games than Aaron Rodgers had. Right? It didn't matter that he was a two-time Super Bowl champion. The Green Bay Packers beat us. We did, it doesn't really matter. It didn't matter that Cleveland hasn't won a playoff game in forever. They beat us. Once you win that game, that's the deal. That's it. What were the New England Patriots? They were all right. And then they got Tom Brady and they won a Super Bowl. And then they won all the Super Bowls.
Yeah, I know. It's unbelievable. It's funny, though, how you bring up Rodgers, and I know a lot of people have talked about this too. Bring out Rodgers, and if we win that Super Bowl and Big Ben gets 3 and Rodgers has 0, is he the best quarterback part of the NFL? He seems to be. People love Rodgers, and yes, he does. He's really good at his craft. But imagine in his shoes, in the media speculation, if he didn't win that Super Bowl, then he'd just be a great player with nothing. And I still wish Mendenhall helped that ball, and there was times where Steelers were up and having a chance and back and forth. But that also might have been the decline of the winning culture with the Steelers. What was that, Super Bowl 45? So it's now been 11 years, and there's Big Ben's probably still the only person on that team from Super Bowl. So if we get to the Super Bowl, if we all want to, then the leadership there is only going to be Big Ben, and these big pressure games will have a huge impact, wouldn't they?
Yeah. We do have coaches that have been there. You know, Tomlin's been there, Keith Butler's been there, a couple of the other guys have been there in other places, but they have some coaches. I don't think it would be that bad of a situation. I definitely wouldn't be complaining if the Steelers made the Super Bowl. I would not be complaining about their lack of Super Bowl leadership.
100%. But it's so funny. When you say we had coaches there, I just straight away imagined like Coach Tomlin like running the ball through the ruck and just like nailing someone, or like, you know, because he used to be a DB coach, like just standing back there and saying, listen, Pierre, mate, I've got this. You're doing it wrong. Put his helmet on and then runs up and picks and goes for a 6. But on that note, we might go to a break, guys. So thanks for tuning in to Steelers Touch Under on part 1, on audio and on YouTube. Just stick around for a little bit and join us for part 2 on Steelers Touch Under, where we jump into more of this. Can we win a playoff game, and does it matter, and how many plays, and what's the real, you know, overall idea? Because I believe we have to win one, and we're going to get into near the end of the show. What happens if we don't win one? So join us on part 2. All right. Steelers behind the steel curtain. Geoffrey, we're back with Steelers Touchdown Under. Do you want to have a go at saying that, or should we just continue?
Steelers Touchdown Under.
That's great. That's good. It's even better in your American accent. I love it. It's so funny. All right. So we have done. God, I sound so bogan. We have done Slinging the Slang before with you, and I last time I got you with Dead Horse. Have you looked up any slang in between that time? Not that I said it was homework.
No, I haven't. I listened to the show, but that's it. Like, I don't.
Yeah. So
I'm not working on slang here.
No, nobody in America, no Australia. Actually, you can't now. Actually, unless if they're hiding over there. No Australians have come around to your neighborhood and said, "Hey, mate, how's it going? What's going on? What's for tea?" Nothing like that.
No, we actually don't get many Australians in north of Pittsburgh here. This is not a hot Australia part.
No, it's not. The reason why I say that, because for Slinging the Slang this week, I haven't got a word, but I've only got a little bit of a story and an idea. So I've been to America 7 times now, and the last time I was there, I can't remember, it might have been the 5th time. I could be lying, I don't know. But one time I was over there, I was in Pittsburgh, and as I'm a bit of a larrikin going over there, I actually I convinced these. I probably shouldn't have done it, Jeff, but I convinced these 2 people, these 2 girls, that in Australia, when I was over there, I was in Pittsburgh somewhere. In Australia, I convinced them, you know, the Sydney Harbour, where all the boats come in and stuff, and it's a tourist attraction. I convinced these 2 girls that we feed sharks, like the canals in Amsterdam. So I convinced them and had a bit of fun with them. They really bought it in. I convinced that we have a daily feeding where you would feed the pelicans, but we feed sharks. So sharks swim up to you, and you'll hand out like fish, and then there's like Robert, there's John, there's all these different types of fish and names, and there's like a guy on the microphone telling stories, and I was telling dibble dabs over there. But I thought it was really funny. Like that's what I kind of missed. Like they bought in the whole thing. They was like, oh really? Like what time? Like, oh, normally about 3 p.m. We go down the harbour, and then you pay about $30, and you sit there and you pay $50 if you pat them and stuff like that. They really loved it. Like it was a good time. But I wanted to know, like, do you have anything touristy that if tourists come to America or in your travel days, do you tell any mythical tales that just to have a bit of fun with people?
Well, we always play up the Pittsburgh accent when we get people into town, but that's not a big deal. I think the best story I have was actually when I was overseas. I was in Rwanda and in Africa, and they were always asking me, like, man, how are you adapting to the heat? Right? How are you handling the heat in Africa? And every single time they would ask us that, I would open my phone and show them that it was hotter in Pittsburgh than it was in Africa, right? We were there for 10 days, and every single day the weather was cooler and the weather was nicer in Africa than it was in Pittsburgh. It was hotter every single day in Pittsburgh. And the one day in Africa, it rained, and it was because it wasn't a rainy season, but it rained. And we were like, okay, they were like, today we have worse weather than you do in Pittsburgh. And if anyone remembers a couple years ago when they had those massive floods in Pittsburgh, it was that exact day. It was raining in Africa, and they were like, oh, the weather has to be better in Pittsburgh. And I'm like, well, actually, no, there's flash floods in my area, and like roads are closed and everything's a nightmare.
Is that because
it was just bad?
Is that because in Africa they have Celsius? Is that correct?
No, it was no matter, it was just straight up cooler.
Okay.
There than was here. And we even went to Kenya, which is on the ocean, and is like 1 degree. I think it's like 1 degree. We were 1 degree south of the equator. Yeah. Right. And it was cooler than it was in Pittsburgh.
Because in my
mind, Pittsburgh was warmer.
I thought they had Celsius, like 30 degrees Celsius, and you were saying to them, "Oh no, it's actually 90 degrees Celsius." Like, no. And you can't exist because your Fahrenheit is always like 3 times higher. And I'm like, hang on a minute. Like,
yeah, no, this was legit. It was like every day we were there was like mid 80s, and in Pittsburgh it was like upper 80s and 90s.
Yeah, right.
It was a couple years ago. It was a hot June. It was a crappy June in Pittsburgh.
So you didn't make up any stories about sharks swimming through 3 rivers and feeding them?
No, we didn't have to. But the one great part was that was June, right? We were there in June, and it was 90 degrees in Pittsburgh, and we got to tell them because a month earlier in May we had snow, and so I told them like it's 91 degrees in Pittsburgh right now, but a month ago it was snowing, and it blew their mind because they're like temperature goes from like 70s to upper 80s, and that's it. That's your variance in temperature. And I'm like, yeah, we had 20 degrees. We were in like low 30s, upper 20s, and now we're in 90s a month later. And they were like, I don't know how anyone can live like that. Like, how can you live in climate like that? And I'm like, well, it's where we live.
It's always intriguing because whenever you guys try and use Fahrenheit, it always boggles my mind as well because we use Celsius, and ours ranges from 0 degrees to 30 to 35 Celsius, and that's our range. But I always see in the media or you guys online or wherever, and you're like, oh, today was 68 Fahrenheit or today was 77. I just can't differentiate the idea of the difference. All I kind of know is like 90 is like hot or something, or above 70 is nice. Right?
90 would be, oh gosh, I have to do the math real quick, but that's 40, 30, it's like mid 30s, 40 degrees Celsius.
So as I'm saying, this is why it's so interesting to have you on as our honorary Australian, because, wrong side of the road, and for some reason you guys thought, well, it wasn't high enough. We want to put the temperature up higher, to 100 degrees. Let's get back on the Steelers though, Jeff. Are you ready for part 2? And
yeah, I actually looked it up here real quick. I did the math real quick. 90 degrees Fahrenheit, I believe, is 32 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, right. Okay. So it's warm. That's warm, right?
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And do you know what is also warm, Jeff? Mike Tomlin's hot seat. No, I'm only joking.
Ooh. No. Oh, let's go there.
No, that's another one. That's another one we can get into. But I'm only joking. I love Tomlin. I think he's a great coach. Let's jump into. Do you think what motivates these players who haven't had a win for the Steelers? Does this motivate them, or like how do they get over the hump? The Jujus and guys like that. TJ Watts.
I think one of the big things could be adding Najee Harris, because everything we hear about him is that the players on his team love him, and they've talked about this with some of the old players that played with Jerome Bettis and how loved he was and how much that offensive line loved blocking for him. That was beyond just, you hear the guys from this line that we just lost everyone from talk about Le'Veon Bell, and it was exciting to block for him because he would make yards because the offense was running, and it was fun. But Jerome Bettis, like you look at that, 2005 season, the team wanting Jerome Bettis to get a Super Bowl is what pushed them over the top is what got Bill Cowher over the hump and got him a Super Bowl was Jerome Bettis. They loved Jerome Bettis. Even Ben Roethlisberger, I want to win this for Jerome. Everyone wanted to win that because they knew Jerome was done. They knew he was done. He was a year past his expiration date, and he's just hanging on, doing anything he can to get to Detroit. And they did it, and they won the Super Bowl for him. So I think Najee Harris matters there because if he really impacts that room to the point that they want him to succeed, they'd play harder blocking for their running back, then the rest of the offense benefits.
Yep.
Everything benefits. The defense will benefit. Everything will benefit if he's that player that they are motivated to block because he's their running back, right? So that could be a thing. That could help. That could be a thing. I don't know if winning one for Ben's a different generation than these kids. He's almost 20 years older. Yeah, these rookies, he's 38, 18, right? 16 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge age difference as well. I don't know if they're winning one for Ben. I've always seen Ben is a certain type of leader, but at the same time I don't really think he isn't that much of a leader. There's other guys I see with James Farrier, Troy Palmer on the field was more of a leader and doing it for Bettis, those kind of guys. But then when Ben gets a big chip on his shoulder, he tends to play, and but I don't know. It's like you said, we were winning it for Jerome Bettis, right? It was him, riding the bus to Detroit, and that was the thing. So if Najee can run, and if he starts to crack open massive gain of yards, I would say the offensive line will be more than happier or more motivated to get that 10 yards because he's doing his job, and you've done your job correctly. And then those two things combined, it's going to put the defense on the back foot. They won't want to block. They won't want to hit us hard or hit the guys on the O-line as hard. It's just going to be, the rolling stone down the hill, and you just can't stop it. Now, if you can't get Najee moving forward, and like you said, with the passing game as well, and that doesn't seem to work out, it's going to be a lot of trouble because you're going to have guys like Kevin Dotz that might play super hard one day or one game, and then these other guys won't really pick it up. Well, Najee's not cutting the right holes, but even saying this is really hard to say. But if that happens, we're just going to be a bit of a shambles in our franchise. But I think the players will motivate each other, and when we start clicking on all cylinders and we have more of a balanced game, and when they start seeing Najee run, and I think it's fans as well. When we see Najee do some cool things and crazy things, maybe Willie Parker, it's going to be time to buy in. But at the moment, no one's really buying in. But should the Steelers fans be worried at all that we have had no 7 players on the active squad? And if we even go through them, some of those players won't even be on the 2021 season. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fair. It's fair to be concerned about that. This is really a break, right? There was that 2000s team that Ben kind of joined, but they had most of those guys from 2002 to 2010. Ben was one of the later additions. Those teams were great. And then you kind of had that next wave that was based on that offensive line and Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger, kind of that offense that didn't work. It got us wins. It didn't get us playoff wins. And now we're looking at this defense, TJ Watt. Like we're saying, TJ Watt hasn't won anything yet. Minkah Fitzpatrick hasn't won anything yet. Joe Hayden, as old as he is, hasn't won anything yet. He's done nothing. He's done nothing in the postseason. He hasn't had a chance. Cameron Hayward's been part of one win. Devin Bush hasn't played in a playoff game yet. So there's a lot of this where you can look at these guys and say, yeah, we're kind of starting something new with Terrell Edmonds, Minkah Fitzpatrick, James Pierre is going to be in there, Cameron Sutton, these guys that haven't done anything. Devin Bush, they're going to have to lead the way, right? They're going to have to take this team really from, in my opinion, from Cameron Hayward. Not say, Cam, you're not the leader anymore. No, but they need to own this.
Yeah.
Right? Not Ben and Cam Hayward are going to lead us there because they're not. They haven't been able to do it yet. They're not going to do it. These young guys, Minkah Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt, some of the wide receivers, Najee Harris, Kevin Dotson, they're the ones that got to step up and say, and we're taking this team to the Super Bowl.
You know what, Jeff? It's got to start now. Would you not agree?
Yeah.
Because I can't wait another year for, okay, we'll get a next year mentality. It's got to start. It's got to start now.
We need to win something.
Exactly. So we're going to jump into it now. And this is I alluded in part one. Let's go. We have to go on the negative side. And basically, I just want to get your thoughts, and I have my thoughts as well. But what happens to the Steelers with this team and then all the new faces, like you said, and this is our team with the Bushes and the Watts, the Highsmith, the Pierres, all those guys. What happens, Geoffrey, if we get to the playoffs and we lose again? What happens? I know it's a big question, but as fans and players and the team and the culture, what happens? What do we do?
Well, I think at that point, Ben's probably gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't work this year, Ben's probably not sticking around. So you've got a brand new offense, that didn't work great. You got a new quarterback in place, and you've got a defense that frankly hasn't done well in the playoffs. Like, what was the last? Like, our last playoff game was what, the Jaguars. That wasn't
40.
good. And then you've got the Cleveland Browns. Both of those, we gave up tons of points.
48 and 40, almost 90 points on the defense allowed. Now that doesn't. The whole game is different because the offense too, and we have turnovers with Big Ben. But it seems like some fans might think, we weren't ready for these games, and we really weren't when we turned up on the field. And nothing more really, and this is a hard word to say, nothing more disgusting to watch the team play that. When you and I and all our fans and behind the Steel Curtain, Steeler Nation around the world, we put our heart into it. We put our heart into this team, and we know we don't play the game, but we buy the jerseys and we do everything we can to support our team, send them good mail and positive thoughts and everything else. And then you come out like that. You come out and throw the ball over over your head, and there's 7-0, and it's like Browns up 28 at the quarter time. This needs to change. It needs to be something. It starts with the veteran leadership, but with our theme today, you've only got Big Ben. Jordan won't be there. I think he's gone. You've got Big Ben, Vince Williams, Cam Tuitt. You got 4 blokes there, and BJ Finney was there too. But you need more than that.
He didn't actually play. He has never actually played in a playoff game.
And Chris Boswell, you're not looking for leadership from your kicker. Just go out there, mate. Yeah. Kick him at 42, 45. You'll get it. You've got it. So you're looking to leadership, and when they scan to the, if we do make the playoffs in our first game, they'll be like, oh, this team has 16 veterans, and they won this, and we'll have only 4 people, and they won a game in 2017. So there's a big divide and a long transparency of time there to say, well, hey, what is this? Or do we just got to jump on the Najee and TJ Watt needs help on that side. We need that push up the middle. Devin Bush is coming back. I know he wasn't there last year in the middle. Terrell Edmonds is saying he's really good now, or playing really well with Minkah. And someone said in the live chat there, it starts with the coaches too, and we do have great coaches, and we have the new offense. It's just, from my view, if we lose again and we get there, I don't mind losing by 3 points, 7 points. Great game. Okay, that you get us. The Bills get us at their turf. But if we don't turn up again and we lose, and Big Ben throws 3 interceptions and fumbles, and there's no heart in that team, that's I'll still be a fan, but that's difficult. Very, very difficult, because we all get amped up, don't we, to watch these games. Well,
I want to point out in that Cleveland game, like, obviously we spotted them 7 points with a horrible first play. Between Pouncey snap and James Conner and Ben Roethlisberger, both watching the ball like they're Cam Newton in the Super Bowl. But after that, the Browns were just marching down the field and scoring, to the point that, like, TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick were out there. They were on the field. And yet the very first third down stop of the game for the Pittsburgh Steelers was made by James Pierre. It was a pass breakup by James Pierre, playing in his like his second game that he'd ever played in besides garbage. Like he had garbage time, 5 snaps of garbage time, 4 snaps of garbage time, week 17 when they rested everybody, and then like a few snaps in the playoff game when he was playing dime. And he's the first stop you get. Like that's the first stop you get is from him. Where is Minka? Where's TJ? You know, and to me, more than the old guys, right? More than Cam Hayward, more than Ben Roethlisberger, more than a Vince Williams, more than even Joe Hayden, and for me, more than the coaches. If they do it again, if they fall short again, like badly, you got to start looking at the young guys. You got to start asking questions like, where are you, Minka? What's going on, TJ? Like TJ Watt still, Bud Dupree has better playoff stats than TJ Watt by far. Even if you go by per game, by far better than TJ Watt. TJ Watt hasn't showed up in a playoff game yet. Like I understand you haven't had many chances, right? You know, and I'm going to say again, it's only a problem until you win. It's only a problem until you win. But if you don't win this year, if you make it to the playoffs and you lose like in a wild card game, and TJ Watt doesn't do anything again, doesn't show up, man, you got to start wondering, like, is this, you know, is Devin Bush, TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick who you want to build this defense around? Because are they going to show up? Troy was in his second year in 2004. 2005 was his third season in the NFL. This is Minka's third. This is TJ's fifth. Like, come on.
That's what I'm saying. I just think, you know, it is the negative spin, but we'll get into the last 10 minutes. We'll go into a positive question. However, what is the end result? You know, you can play so well throughout the season and do all these fantastic things, and we get 65 sacks. And I saw a stat today that they can break a record. Might have been Behind the Steel Curtain had published that. If we get more sacks, then we can extend the record. Records are great, but you want to get some playoff time. It's one and done. And when the last two showings, just, you know, 8 quarters, the Steelers haven't shown up. They losing to the Jags was huge for me. I think we had the home field advantage there. Second round of the playoffs, I believe it was, and we lost 45 to something in a shootout. That was just ridiculous how that works out. I want to see a game that's, you know, if it's going to be close, 2017, something like that. It's not letting these teams get on us. I can't even remember who the quarterback was for the Jaguars. Was it Blake Bortles?
Yeah, it was Bortles.
It was Bortles.
Yeah.
Can we have a moment in silence to appreciate that Bortles beat us? Okay, that's long enough.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
The Browns had it for us last year, and then a lot of the NFL guys are really jumping on the Ravens and the Browns this year to be that team and to win the division. There was a podcast I listened to the other day that said they were going 15-2 for the Ravens. That won't happen. They said the Browns were going 14-3. That won't happen. But they still have this idea where they think Ben is washed up. And with my fandom, I think, oh, no, he's not. We've got this. And I really do believe. I do believe we have a really good chance of Ben, nobody else. But all these guys have to buy in and set that tone and change it. And we need that playoff win. And once we get one, it's going to lead to 2 to 3, and then we have a really good chance for the Super Bowl. But Jeff, how do the Steelers win the playoff game? If we do get to change the tide, do we do it via defense, run game, or Big Ben? How do we do it?
First two, defense and run game. You've got to take the pressure off Ben. Ben. Like, it's hard mostly because the offensive line, right? The offensive line isn't an offensive line that you can sit there and say, okay, we're going to throw the ball 50 times. You guys keep, like, the defense is going to know we're passing. You guys are going to have to keep Ben upright. Ben Roethlisberger last year, when he had roughly 2.5 seconds to throw the ball, he was fantastic. When he had 2 seconds and there was pressure, when there were guys in his face at 2 seconds, he was terrible, right? He's not, when he was younger, it was fine because he could scramble. He could escape, go down, get by himself time, and throw the ball. He can't do that anymore. So you have to put Ben in a position where he's not being asked to carry the team. That's what you have to do. And we're going to have to see the defense, you know, hold a team to under 40 points. Like we really
isn't that funny to say? Oh, we have to hold them under 40. Under 40, we have to hold under 20.
It's a weird thing, right? It's a really weird thing. If you go, like Peyton Manning had great offenses, right? In the playoffs. When he went and did that, they were great offenses. He didn't have a great defense. If you go from 2004 to 2010, Peyton Manning versus Ben Roethlisberger, whose defense gave up more points per game in the playoffs? It was Ben Roethlisberger. The Steelers gave up more points per game in the playoffs than the Colts defense did. From 2004, 2010. Like, it's crazy to me that like your defense is going to get scored on in the playoffs. You're just going to. The only way you don't get scored on is if your offense is dominating the ball. Because it's playoff teams, right? And the NFL is an offensive league, has been for a long time, and it's not going away. So winning a game 14-10, that's not a thing in the playoffs unless the offense is just terrible, right? The Steelers need the defense to play good, but they need the offense to control the game. That's how you win in the NFL. And that means Ben Roethlisberger needs to not be the only thing we have going. And we didn't have something else.
We didn't do that with the Browns straight away, 7-0. And even my father said to me, "Oh, do you still have a chance?" And I said, 28-0. No. I said, it's gone. No. The first quarter was gone. And my heart got up when we did come back from the halftime, and I believe it was we're down, I think, 35-10 or something. We came back and we were 11 points away, and then we got done again. But same thing in the Jaguars game, up and down, up and down, up and down. It just never happened for us. And it's funny how you say with Peyton Manning near the end of his career too. When the defense really helped him out, because near the end he was throwing that football like a shot put. It didn't, there was no spin on it. It was going the opposite direction. I couldn't believe that he was a quarterback, but he had that leadership there and that presence was still there, but he wasn't throwing the best spirals or being the best QB he could be. His defense really helped him out, but times in our playoff runs in the last few years, Big Ben has gotten himself in trouble. I know you did 4 touchdowns, 500 yards, but you can't throw 4 interceptions and think you're going to win. So, yeah, like it's a good positive spin if you can, and I believe we do have a chance every year. I believe we have a chance. It's just a thing where it's going to hurt, though. I think if we do make it again and we have a great season, which I wish we all have a good season for players to watch. We've got so many awesome players to learn about. My goal, I've said it before this year, is to learn more about the O-line, because when those David DeCastros get away from me, I'm like, oh, man, I didn't really watch him play, or the Pouncey was in the center for 10 years. I was there, but I never really, appreciated his time there as a Steeler. So for me, it's
we kind of take him for granted.
Yeah, don't we?
Got used to him. Yeah.
And now we have who do we have? We have some names there, but we haven't got we've got 72 Banner, but he needs to be a part of the offense now.
Yeah, that offensive line, 2019, right? Villanueva, Foster, Pouncey, DeCastro, Filer. They're gone.
Yeah. And
every last one of them's gone.
And you think in your head, well, maybe they can play another 3 or 4 years and they can still be great. And now, well, it's all new for Ben. And this might be the time that if this is Ben's last season, win or lose, I don't know what's going to happen with Ben. It could be a real turning point this season. We're always going to be fans. We're always going to be talking about it. But it just seems like there's got to be a time where we start winning and changing this culture. And it's getting really difficult to win. We won lastly, Jeff, we won the North, right? This boggles me. We won the AFC North, and now we're like 3rd or 4th favorite to win it again.
Well, we were ranked there. Everyone picked us 3rd or 4th last season. That's one of the things I say about the 2020 season is only the Steelers could be picked to finish 3rd or 4th in division, win the division, and be considered an absolute failure of a season. People were like, that was an embarrassing season. The Steelers are terrible. They won the division in the year that people had picked them to finish 3rd or 4th. And I think we're going to see it again. I don't know if we'll win the division, but I think we're going to make the playoffs. I think this is a playoff team. I think the Steelers are going to be ahead of either Cleveland or Cincinnati, and they're going to make the playoffs.
Some people have us going below 500. I don't really see that because of our depth at most positions on the defense, and we still have Big Ben there, and then they're really discounting the Steelers to what they can be. But in my mind, that really shouldn't be the motivation to go out and win, because you know how good you are. You don't need that chip on your shoulder. But that might help certain players, but you just got to go out there and play competitively, and I think they will do that. Any final thoughts, Jeff, before you start to wrap it up?
My final thought is really this season, like most seasons, it's the Steelers. What matters in the regular season is whether or not we make the playoffs. That's why I said when we were 11-0 last season, I'm like, what this says is we got a really good shot at making the playoffs. Like we could lose a bunch of games and still make the playoffs, and we did. We lost 4 of the last 5, and we still went to the playoffs. And then we lost in the playoff game. But you want to bring us a super chat here?
Yeah. So before we end the show here, we have Snowman. Cheers, Snowman, mate. $5. That's going straight into my pocket, so I can buy a new jersey. No, I'm only joking. Are you guys concerned about the offensive line more since DeCastro released or not? We talked about that in part 1, but Jeff knows this team better than I do because he lives closer. Let's put it that way. No, I'm joking. Jeff, what do you think about DeCastro leaving?
Overall, it's almost even, because I watched, like, I was worried about him. I'm like, is he if you said before he wasn't at OTAs, right? Before then, I was less concerned about the O-line than I am now. But once I heard he wasn't at OTAs, I was like, crap, is he still hurt? Is his injury healed? So I was very concerned about the offensive line as soon as I heard that he wasn't practicing. Since he was released and they signed Trey Turner, I'm probably a little less concerned, but I am still concerned. I'm a little less concerned than I was when I found out David Castro wasn't healthy, because that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I second that. I appreciate his service, and like we said before, he's been in the league 9 years, and then I get my news. So I get the news when it breaks over to you guys at like 3 or 4 p.m. I get it in the morning, so I wake up at 9 o'clock and go, oh, what? DeCastro left. He's retiring, or he's got cut. So yeah, that time flew past. What was 2010? I guess he was drafted, or 2009. When we had a chance, and we're going into a new era now from the 2020s into the future, which we talked about. I'll try and pronounce his name, Geoffrey. We have another super chat. Evgeny Crosby.
Evgeny Crosby. Yep.
Yeah, has $4.99, so that goes to my pocket again from my jersey. Since January 10, the Steelers have been getting dumped on by everybody and their mama. We're going to be a good team. Yeah, I agree. I do agree. Look, do you agree with that? We're going to be a good team despite the schedule?
Yeah, I'm always a guy that is looking for the tougher schedule. When they look at when we start doing towards playoff time and we're like, oh, root for this team so the Steelers get a weaker playoff matchup or a more favorite. I'm like, no, give us the gauntlet, man. If we're going to win, give us the tough teams. Give us the worst schedule. Give us all of that. That's what we had in 2008. Man, we had to beat those freaking 2008 Ravens. That was a nasty, nasty football team. We had to beat them 3 times.
That was a great game.
Let's do it. Let's do that again. Give us the tough schedule. Give us the offensive line that everyone doubts can be anything. Give us this. Bring it. Let's do this. That's how I view it.
That's right. Jeff, you fired up. You fired me up, and that's right. The Steelers are going to take pride in their jersey, and they're playing the hardest schedule. They don't care.
You want some more correlations, right?
Yes.
We talk about that. Joey Porter left in 2007, 2008. They go on with Lamar Woodley, who was a rookie in 2007. In his second year, they won the Super Bowl. Him and James Harrison formed the best group of pass rushers the Steelers have had since, the Steel Curtain.
So what you're saying is that Alex Highsmith.
We got Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt, and then we already know Alex Highsmith is a better pass rusher right now than TJ Watt has been. Bud Dupree has been. He's got better moves and stuff. He doesn't have the production. He doesn't have the success. He's not quite there in other aspects of the game, but there's potential for this team. There's a lot of potential for this team. There's a lot of young guys that if they grow up, You remember we didn't have Dupree, we didn't have Alex Highsmith, we didn't have Devin Bush, we didn't have Joe Hayden. We had a lot of people out for that playoff game. If we get Devin Bush, if we have this team and they take the young guys take a step, TJ Watt finds another gear, he finds a way to be even better this year, then this can be a Super Bowl team. This defense could be just ridiculous.
Well, Jeff, mate, we're going to end the show now. You've fired me up. I'm going to straight away go for a run. I'm really G'd up now. We went through it all from the 7 players there, the active players on the roster, veteran leadership. We have the players like Highsmith, TJ, Minka. These guys need to fire up, and they will. However, if they don't, you might not see me for 10 years. I'm gonna become a different fan. No, I'm joking. I'm always gonna be black and gold, just like you, Jeff. Gonna be black and gold.
It'll just be a sad show. You'll just be like, good day, mates. We're here in Australia.
Mate. Welcome to Steelers touchdown under, I guess. I don't know anymore. No, I'm only
Steelers interception down under. How about that?
Yeah, all right, guys. We're gonna end it. We're getting to laughable Larry over here. All right, Jeff. Thanks for coming on the Steelers touchdown under. Look, we have a good team. We're gonna get through minicamp and training camp. We're gonna nail this. Cheers, mate. Everyone, check us out on the podcast, on the shows coming up. All the stuff behind the steel curtain. You guys are the show. You guys make the show. This was really fun. So cheers, guys, and go Steelers.